Well, thanks for joining us. I have the Member of Parliament for Tama West in the studio, and Carlos Ahenkorah is here. Good morning to you.
Morning.
First time on the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you
You're on
very
recess,
much.
right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But I am not.
You're not?
Because I'm in the ministry right now. So.
Yes, I think, how did I forget that? Deputy Minister of Trade.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so how's the ministry?
Very interesting, very challenging, and very well managed.
Right coming now. From the background where you're coming from, looks to be almost like an interlinked agency for you, because it's something you're also familiar with.
Well, for a want of a better word, I'll accept that. It's an interlinked. It's virtually an upliftment of what I used to do before in transport. And this encompasses everything else apart from transport, like insurance, like banking. It's trade. And fortunately, I am the deputy in charge of trade, so it puts me in the right perspective. And
especially from the sector in which you used to operate, and also having been a man of your own in industry, where you come from, it means that you have a lot of your folks trying to lobby.
Lobby for what?
Well, I mean, people try to lobby for their sectors and try to make sure that the areas in which they work have improved conditions, and the regulatory conditions are also right for their businesses to thrive.
Well, that has not started yet. If it will start, I don't know. But
you've just been 2 weeks into office.
Exactly. But I can assure you that we're going to make sure that all these sectors that we've worked in, we've known the problem firsthand. We're going to make sure we would streamline activities in these areas to ensure that they benefit Ghana, they benefit the industry for the betterment of the nation.
GIPC is under your ministry.
Yes, it is. It's supposed to.
It's supposed to be under your ministry. Yeah. And I know that one of the critical benchmarks for which we tend to measure FDIs is the areas and the sectors in which the FDIs are. Now, particularly over the last 2-3 years, it's always been in oil, in the various sectors in which mining, etc., construction as well. Yeah. Now that we have the influx of a lot more of the foreigners or expats who tend to invest more in some of those areas, but then we don't have a lot more local content in some of them. How do we hope that we have sectors that have huge capital inflow, but then the jobs that they create for the locals are few, but try to perhaps maybe either improve technology or try to transfer technology in terms of the know-how so that we can improve on the skills and the jobs that our locals have?
Well, a very good question. I think what is actually influencing what you just mentioned right now from previous government is the fact that we have closed our eyes to foreigners, especially indulging in the retail sector of our business. You would see a lot of inflows coming through that angle, but its eventual effect on the economy in terms of employment, in terms of whatever gains that we make economically, is not felt. The reason being that if you allow somebody to bring in $1 million to open a shop at Makola or Kanshi and sell wares, goods, and they employ 1 or 2 people, what have you done? Nothing. But since the onset of this new government, we are seeing a different FDI in a different direction in terms of this one district, one factory thing. Okay. It might interest you to know that recently it was even announced in the papers that about $3 billion have been pledged by foreign donors to enter into this particular fray, and it's going to actually help us improve on our lot, especially when it comes to the benefits that this is going to give to the economy, like employment and so on and so forth. So therefore, like you said, yes, we are going to shift the direction away from the normal retail sector influx into creating job
more productive areas in which the locals can also participate.
Especially also if we look at the agri sector. Agri sector is getting a lot of what you call patronage in terms of foreigners trying to come in to put their monies in the soil. And this is also going to employ our own locals to work for these people on the farms and so on and so forth. We could go on and on and on and on. But the bottom line is that we are shifting the focus of our foreign direct investments into different areas which will benefit the economy in terms of employment and other things.
Well, that's great. It looks like somebody who already has a hands-on approach to all the things under his ministry. And that's Member of Parliament for Tema West. He's also Deputy Minister for Trade, Carlos Ahenkorah in the studio. But he will be joined by Emmanuel Bejara. He's a Member of Parliament for Whole West. But we have to take a break, and then we will admit him into the discussions. We'll be right back. Well, so I have my guest in the studio, Emmanuel Bejara. He's a Member of Parliament for Whole West. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, and sorry for being late.
No, that's okay. You're forgiven. You're a regular on the show. So sometimes some of these things we have to forgive you. And I know that you're on research. I'm sure you came from the constituency.
I'm just coming from the constituency. Good morning to our cherished viewers, especially those in the Whole West District, as well as Whole West constituency, and the whole of Volta region, and the entire Ghana.
Charlie, this request, the marketing department will search out you for this. Okay. And then also somebody who is in charge of trade, a deputy minister for trade, is in the studio, and Carlos Ahenkorah. He's also Member of Parliament for Tema West, my constituency, and that's great. And thanks for joining me, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And of course, trade issues about the economy always interlinked. And talking about the economy, we know that the spring meetings are taking place in Washington, and George Biafe, the IMF program, is also critical on discussions, and George Biafe is being streamed live, and I hope that I have him on air. Good morning to you, George. Do we have you?
Martials.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, and what really are the topmost discussions for us as a country as we go there, particularly concerning the IMF the deal that we have with the fund?
I think that what is most of the topical issues for us is basically had to do with meeting certain critical benchmarks under the program, and basically whether we can pull things through. Basically has to do with the extension of the IMF program. It's one very critical issue that is on the table. Also, it has to do with the World Bank's plan to extend some assistance towards us as well. It's another issue on the table as well. So in terms of the issues that are up for discussion, there's the fund program, the fourth review. Have we been able to meet all those critical targets and benchmark so that the board, indeed, they can go to the board and then they will be able to approve the money for disbursement for our country? And also the fact that the World Bank has also pledged some $1.7 billion to the country. And when are they going to see the money also come in as well? It's another critical issue that is up here for the spring meeting in Washington, D.C.
We know that's critical for many of these institutions, the World Bank, the IMF, etc., are for us as a country, making sure that we streamline expenditure in such a way that we have that interlinkage with the various economic indicators strengthening. Then we send. What have been some of the observations from officials of some of the institutions? Positive at all towards what we.
Well, Roland, one issue that has also come up with what they call the fiscal prudence to ensure, and even for government engaging investors on this roadshow coming into this meeting, is the commitment and the promise that going forward, there will be some prudence in terms of the revenue that they raise and the expenditure that they also carry out. So if government can assure these investors that indeed they are committed to ensure that whatever money that comes in or whatever money that has been approved for them by Parliament, they are going to stick to it. That is a very critical talking point also here. So even doing the spring or doing a non-deal roadshow that they are currently carrying out.
But at the end of the day, is government now going to extend the IMF deal, and by what duration, if you have any end in sight to it?
That's one of the biggest talking points here in Washington, D.C. Is government going to extend it or not? The last discussion I had with the finance minister, his argument was that, George, we are committed to completing the program that is in April 2018. The last question I threw to the head of the African department at the IMF was that, what is the status of this discussion with Ghana? Sir George, we're still in discussion, but it looks like, Roland, there might be some reviews and changes. The fact is that there could be some extension. Okay. April 2018 might not be at the final date where we can complete the program because of some challenges that have come up.
At the end of the day, we need to also make sure that when we're borrowing, we borrow right. But also, if the commitments are coming, for example, we have 1.7 from the World Bank, I believe. What would that be used for?
Well, it's about reducing poverty and also some various projects, World Bank projects in the country that are supposed to support. So it's a mixture of infrastructure projects, reducing poverty, and some other projects that are in the country that the bank believes that it could go a long way to reduce poverty in the country. And that is why they are extending the support towards Roland. So more of a mixed bag: poverty, infrastructure, improving governance issues. And the bank believes that all these things could go a long way to reduce poverty and also cut down waste in government expenditure, or try and moderate government expenditure. And even if they spend it, it will be more of targeted areas that would help expand the economy, areas that will lead to poverty reduction.
Well, thank you very much. And George Wiafe is with the Ghana delegation and covering those spring meetings for us in Washington, D.C. So that most institutions, the IMF and the World Bank, they are having great discussions with our officials there. Of course, the Vice President and the Finance Minister leading the team there. But we're in the studio, you're in government, so logically I should come to you. The IMF program, we know the criticism that at the time your party leveled on government of the John Mahama administration of perhaps trying to get into that agreement with the IMF and making sure that we streamline our expenditure foremostly. Now we're hearing that there could be an extension. It means that it was not a bad deal after all.
No, that's your conclusion is too generalized. Okay. Actually, you know that when we came into government in the year 2001, we're already in this same situation. But it was the brainchild of our then finance minister to get us out of the IMF. Well, IMF programs, as far as we are concerned as a developed country, is not something that would take you out of wherever you want to get yourself out from, especially the poverty reduction state. So therefore, it is better for you to try and live within your own confines and live as if, you know, you don't need anybody's help from anywhere. Now, unfortunately for us, we got ourselves out during those times, and we found ourselves back in during the last government. Okay. It would have been a very, you know, straightforward kind of arrangement for us to finish this in April 2018. But when we came into government, we realized that so many things have happened. Records or information that was supposed to go to IM, some of them at a point were doctored. And we, at a point, were even fined. We were given penalties, if you remember, for giving wrong figures and so on and so forth. So therefore, it is giving us a very serious constraint when it comes to attaining those benchmarks that were set. So therefore, if you listen to the finance minister yesterday, I think he was, speaking on the same issue, and he mentioned that due to these problems and a few things that they have found, we are bent on seeing the program through. Ideally, we would have, as we promised Ghanaians, that we will get ourselves out of the IMF program. We thought that we could do well with or without it. And as far as we are concerned, we've done it before, we'll do it again. Those times we got ourselves into HIPIC, and that helped us to get us out quickly. Today, we cannot go back into HIPIC, but we are looking for ways and means to try and be on our own, stand firm, and move on. But for what has happened in the previous government's reportage to IMF, which some of which were very, very My brother is yes, and so I find it difficult to use certain words. But yes, we have streamlined these activities. We are seeing it through April 2018. If there's a need to continue with the program, which inshallah I think we might not need to, we will do that. But at this moment, the finance minister has said that we intend seeing the program through to April 2018, and that's what it's going to be.
Roland, I'm just surprised that we having all the officials, that's the IMF officials in Ghana, working with the Minister of Finance, and today we've been told that some of the figures were dotted. Information sent to IMF have been dotted. That's why we're not able to conclude, or will not be able to conclude the program as stated. But let us all go back to down the memory where we decided to go to Senchi to have our own homegrown policies. We invited our colleagues from the other side to be part of the homegrown policies because at that time we know the economy was distressed and we needed some bailout. And we decided that, well, we'll not go with our caps in hand just to go and get a bailout, but we'll have our own policy, homegrown policy, and if it's accepted by them, then we'll be able to go with that policy because it's our own policy just for them to support us. And our colleagues from the other side said, well, they were not going to go with us. We went and we decided that we'll go with it. And we've been using it, we've been doing it. And for me, what I know is that the key performance indicators, some of the key performance indicators were not met or fulfilled, and therefore there's a need for us to review. That is why they are in the spring meeting now, to look at some of the key performance indicators, whether it will be met, during the date that is set, or it will not be met. If it will not be met, the prudent thing for all of us to do is to review and see how best we can bring back the economy online. But Roland, one of the interesting things, I thought that our colleagues who were not part of the Senchi Accord, when they came to power, they were going to abrogate the IMF deal. They would say, well, we are no more interested in the deal, therefore let's put it up because we were against it. We didn't want you to be part of it. We don't want to be part of it. We didn't want the whole country to be part of it. Let's put it, let's ask IMF to pack their bag and baggage and go, and then we'll go to mobilize our own resources and make sure that the economy is back to track. But unfortunately, no. Today, they are with them having talks. I hope, and our belief, the minority believes that they will do well to negotiate and navigate well and come out with good results for this country.
At the end of the day, I guess streamlining issues and making sure that Ghana becomes the best place for doing business remains the ultimate. But let's move on to more substantive issues. And President Akufo-Addo was installed as a sub-chief of English Yalata here in Accra. And he said his promise to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa will come to fruition in its time. But we know Accra is bedeviled with a lot of challenges. And the tax is enormous, won't you say?
Roland, before I answer your question, let me first and foremost say that I would direct my brother to go to Google and just Google NDC government doctors figures to IM. You will find plenty there. It's not something that is hidden anywhere. And secondly, you don't call us to a Senchi forum where we've given you several advices that you were not taking. You remember before the Senchi forum, Dr. Bawumia has hit on you people, telling you that if you are not careful, you go to IMF. You didn't listen. You went to IMF. He told you that the dollar will shift from 2.1 to 2 point something at a certain thing. You didn't listen. We hit. And all the advice that he gave, you didn't take. So what we come and do in Senchi? This time, when we call them to Senchi, I believe they will come because they will have a reason to come. But if they want to be a responsible, opposition, then they should accept that when it comes to that stage where they don't have that moral, right, let me borrow the word, to indulge in certain discussion, they shouldn't, because they have gotten us into this mess. Let me borrow the word also, mess, in this, they have gotten us into this mess, up to this point. But I promise you, we're going to get us out of the fields, the Englishy, the Nanado mentioned that the Englishy function. You see that is the first government in history who has come up with the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. Hitherto, sanitation was under local government. And of course, as to whether it was being properly monitored or done, you and I have the answers. Today we have a proper minister, a tankers minister, who is supposed to ensure that our capital cities especially are cleared with oil fields. Now, what we see in Accra is very, very challenging. You know, what we call bola, the garbage. Normally, you get a lot of bola from the poor areas than you get in the rich areas. Why? Because when you go to airport residential area, more people will eat biscuits. I mean, what field would they generate? Just some leaflets. But if you come to my side where I live, probably we eat fufu and stuff, and our cassava and plantain peels would heap our bola every day. And nobody can sleep with the bola overnight. It has to go out. Unfortunately, what is happening is those trucks or those contractors who have been mandated to collect this bola, I'm using the word bola for people to understand in our own parlance, who are supposed to collect this bola, are charging some amount of money per household, which the people are not able to afford. So therefore, and when they come and you're not able to pay, they will leave your bola. But like I said earlier, nobody wants to sleep with bola overnight. So they will find somewhere to go and throw the bola.
But averagely, you pay, is it 20 Ghana cedis a month?
Well, yeah, even say 15. They don't have them 15.
Yeah, yeah.
In Tema, for example, they used to pay 5. They reviewed it to 10. Yes, just yesterday I was called to a residents meeting somewhere in my constituency. They said TMA.
Which area would that be?
TMA, Tema Metropolitan, they've shifted it to 15, and they are telling me that they cannot pay. So if they don't bring it back to 5, and those boys who have been insulting our mothers when they are coming to take the garbage and they haven't paid, and stuff like that. If they want the whole community to be bedeviled with filth, then they should leave the bola. Because like I said, they won't let go and sleep with the bola. They will find somewhere to go and throw it away. And it will become a problem for you and I. Tomorrow they will start contracting some disease. The government will have to rush in with necessary medicaments. And at whose cost? At the government's cost. So I would say that let us look at the incomes of these people. Let us see their plight. There are so many households that these garbage companies have to collect their garbages. If it is possible for them to, as it were, just give us a minimal increment, we'll be happy. But like Nanado has said, he's bent on clearing all our capital cities. It's not only Accra, all our capital cities are filled. And he has set a ministry to do so. And very soon you will see the effects.
Yeah, very soon we'll see the effect. First of all, let me congratulate the President for coming out with this. This is not the first time. We had it during the former President Kufuor and his late Vice President, Aliu Mahama, who came with the mantra of cleaning the cities. And then we have the current recent past, the Minister of Local Government, who became the Chief of Staff, who also, when he was a local government, decided that he was going to have a one day in a month cleaning all our cities and our towns and villages. That's the sanitation day, which was instituted by local government. We saw it all. Unfortunately, we're not able to clean or make our cities clean. Personally, I believe that bola, as my colleague has mentioned, bola is money. It is high time now we begin to look at this from economic point than just throwing somewhere. If all of us can agree that our garbage are economy, they are money that we can make out of it. There are a lot of countries that are making, turning waste into energy. And all you need to do is to collect it well, that is separate the various waste and send it. You can use waste for a composite manure. You can use waste for energy. Why are we not doing this? It's discipline. Roland, some time ago we discussed this right here, and I said that it will take another generation for them to understand that waste is money. Take our people back at home, or those from the underprivileged areas. How many of them understand that waste is money? How many of them understand that when I finish eating kenke, the back, I need to deposit in a bin? How many of them have a bin that will go and deposit it for somebody to carry away? It is, the process is enormous. It is not just that oh, let me finish and dump, let me finish and go and throw it somewhere. You need to educate the person. The person needs to have understanding that what I'm going to throw out is money. And therefore, when it moves from the bin to whatever recycling plant, it's going to generate money. Therefore, let me go and, pollute our place. Let me, all kinds of things go into it. So, yes, Nana, His Excellency, the President has promised, but I don't think that we're able to get rid of filth in the whole of all the cities by the end of his first term, or by the end of 2040.
Why
Yes,
do you
indeed.
think so?
I give my reasons. It's about culture and it's about discipline.
So we have 4 years to bring the discipline and culture. And
Yeah, so
education.
I also added that unless our generation, we are able consciously educate our people that this is money and this, our culture should change from just depositing things. Let's educate our people.
Okay.
And you take 27 million Ghanaians. We have a lot of work to do.
What to do?
My other issue has to do with our children. What are we doing with them? Basic schools. Are we educating them? Are we training them about environment? Are we telling them that, well, if you throw garbage anywhere, anyhow, you'll be penalized? Or they see their seniors doing, their parents doing it, therefore they also follow through. I cannot even throw anything away from my car because when my children see it, they'll query me, Daddy, stop and pick it. So that is the kind of discipline we need to give to our children. So for me, yes, it's a laudable thing. I pray that it succeeds. But it goes beyond, let's tell people that garbage is money.
There's a certain dichotomy between how we change the attitudes and then what the actions of people are towards waste. Because then we'll make the various waste companies also have a better conditions of environment to work.
Yeah, the answer to what you just said lies in what he said earlier. That we have to find different use for waste.
Okay.
If we can actually get to that level where we can separate these waste. And like, for example, if you go to some of these developed countries, what you see there is they have different boxes or containers for different type of waste. Bottle, plastic waste, that waste, that waste. So you don't go and put a paper in a bottle container. We should also have that situation where, like you said, we bring civics back to our educational curriculum and let our kids understand the implication of some of these things. I think we've let a lot of these things to chance and allowed nature to play its own role. And so therefore people also do what is convenient and decide to just put garbage anywhere that they want to put them. If we should clear or if we should pay serious attention to our sanitation issues in Ghana, which the government of Ghana today is doing by sending a ministry, I tell you, we would reduce the pairs for importation of drugs by close to about 25%, because most of the sicknesses that we see comes from that department. People, are exposed to some of these chronic or some of this, diseases because of where they live and because of the sanitation condition of where they are. But they don't realize that that kinky peel that he's putting just in the gutter in front of his house is tomorrow going to cause some problem, even aside from the disease, floods and so on and so forth. So therefore, if we're able to find different uses for garbage, it's going to go a long way to help us in surviving.
Yeah. Yes, let me add that it's not only about importation of reducing the pests as regard to importation of drug, but it also reduces chemical use, especially when we separate waste and recycle waste. Paper, for instance, you recycle paper. We can reuse it. We recycle plastic, it can be reused. We recycle or we decompose some of the organic one, and we don't need to import fertilizer. We can use it. And we have one company that is already doing ACAP. That is already doing decomposition and then coming up composite
With
waste.
manure.
Yeah, manure. And we can look, the multiplying effect of managing waste in Ghana could reduce our pests in so many areas, not only in dry, but so many areas. Because you see, waste has its effect on health, everything. So for me, I'm happy, first of all, we have a ministry dedicated to sanitation. I pray Kofi Adda, Honorable Kofi Adda, who is not a minister.
serious minister.
We've met him a couple of times as a member of the Western Housing Committee, and I see seriousness in him. The only unfortunate thing is that his budget, the budget for his ministry, is woefully inadequate, and I don't think that he'll be able to do anything. Most of the funds that are supposed to be given to him would rather be sent to the office of the president that will, will take care of some form of water project and sanitation. I was expecting that it would be given to him for us to. That is why I said, well, yes, indeed, the president has a promise. The president has given his word that by 4th year, things will be done. But I still have my doubt.
A quick correction. Whatever budget has been given to him shouldn't be a source of worry. When it comes to sanitation, you've been in Parliament a long time before now. We get a lot of donor support in that department. So that shouldn't be a problem. Number two, if it is going under the office of the president for sanitation, then certainly that money would be, reverted to him. When it comes to the fact that he comes with the appropriate program and there's a budget which is going to support that program, he goes there and it is there. So don't worry at all. But like you've been wondering, I can also assure you that 4 years is a long way, and even though a day in politics is a very long day.
Carlos,
4 years.
we are in April, May.
Don't worry. You said 4 years, so maybe on the 4th year, you and I will come and sit here again, and we'll start doing some other assessments and see if we.
I'll clap for you.
Thank you.
Well, something that also is very much related to behavioral change and an activity, Galamsey, for which now we have the hashtag Stop Galamsey Now, has reached a certain crescendo. Now, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources is asking the companies that are involved, or individuals or involved in Galamsey, to move their moving equipment and excavators out of there. The commitment and. But if they move the equipment, it also means that more people lose their jobs within the sector. Of course, streamline also provide the same jobs that for which people could be deprived of currently. Carlos.
Yes. For the first time again, we are seeing some seriousness in a certain government. If you look at the fact that within a matter of 1 month, 4 weeks, what we have achieved when it comes to this Galamsey issue, then you ask yourself questions. Why haven't we tried something like this over time? Why haven't we gone this tangent for previous government that have come in where illegal mining had taken a toll on our environment? I applaud the minister so well. I mean, he's done so much within this short time, and I know that he's going to do well. And I always knew when he was mentioned from the Volta region to take care of the environment, I knew he was going to do even extra best. And you ask yourself, you see, we sit down in our Western and Central and Ashanti region for somebody from the Volta to come and help us manage our land. I applaud my Voltarian brothers. And I know he's going to go very far. But now let's come back to the substantive issue. Excavators have different, diverse, uses. I don't think anybody goes out there to bring an excavator to come and do Galamsey. All construction, especially buildings and gutters and all those things, they use excavators in moving starting their construction works. So therefore, we cannot entirely say that we're not going to allow excavators to come into Ghana anymore. Fine. But he is wisely couched something, like for them to understand that when we are giving lands to people to go and mine, we give them licenses. So therefore, we are going to use the same method to apply to excavators. Any excavator that is going to work anywhere, whether you're going to work in the construction industry, whether you're going to work in the water industry, wherever, you need a permit.
A certain permit?
A certain permit.
After being registered?
Before you can put
Before being declared as roadworthy or...
No. After roadworthy, that will be done by DVLA.
Yeah.
But before you put your buckets on the floor, you need to have a permit. And that permit is going to be confined to a particular area where you are supposed to work. you cannot move away from the geographical area where, if you are asked to go and do construction, let's say you want a permit to send your excavator to Wasamenfi to go and help in the construction of, let's say, a school block. You'll be given a permit to go and work with Wasamenfi, and that permit will expire at a certain particular time. Less than 3 months. After 3 months, you're supposed to come and renew that permit. People will go there and investigate and make sure that the purpose for which the permit was issued is what you went there to do before your permit will even be renewed. You see, what we don't realize is people who have the concessions are not those who are bringing the excavators in. We have companies, individuals, who have gone out there to bring excavators into Ghana and are only leasing it to Galamsey operators. You understand? Now, companies like Caterpillar, companies like XMCG, Chinese company, they are big time excavator dealers. Okay. They're not manufacturer dealers. If you want to take that incentive away from them, from not bringing in, you kill their businesses. So we are not going to go that way. We are not saying that we're going to abolish the importation of excavators entirely. But please, once you sell this excavator to people or anybody, let them understand, let them be aware that before you go and use the excavator anywhere, you need permit for the Ministry of Environment Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Natural Resources.
Yes, and I think that's one of the best things that could happen to us. Earlier on, I had gone somewhere to mention that if this Galamsey will work, we should revoke all licenses, whether genuine, legitimate or illegitimate.
And then restart? And
then restart. Because along the line, something went wrong somewhere. And true to
okay, so you want us to start from a certain clean bill?
Yeah, and he's doing.
So we wipe away the current status.
That is exactly what he has done.
And then restart.
He has cancelled every concession or mining license. All small-scale mining. He didn't say Galamsey. And people misconstrue Galamsey with small-scale mining. Small-scale mining, it's mining an area under 25 acres. Yeah. And that one, you have a license from Mineral Commission. All of them, everybody should cease. We have stopped them. What he's even gone ahead to do, which is deservedly remarkable of that gentleman, is to sack all the dying inspectors in our mining areas, because they have sat down for those areas to be overtaken by Galamsey.
What could they have done? Because we're told that the issues go beyond just mere middle level officers put in charge of certain outfits and activities.
But you see, this is a time where we have to let civil servants understand that if you allow politicians to overshadow you, if you allow politicians to titillate you, to do things which are not supposed to be done, when that time comes, you will suffer for it.
Well, many of the times they are victimized, aren't they?
No, but what do you do? Well, of course, I know you think about your kids and your wives, you have to eat. but the point is, if you allow them to also use you, for example, I was just reading something in your papers here, that somebody is supposed to pay 12.5 million Ghana.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
And you will discuss that, yes. And I ask myself questions. Who sat down for him to take the goods out of the port?
Well, so don't take the wind out of my sails. We'll discuss that.
Well. So basically that's what I'm saying. This gentleman has done so well. He's moving one step at a time and clearing all the...
But he's got government backing, right?
But he's a minister.
Yeah, sure.
So he's got everybody's backing.
We've seen appointed people try to do things and then sometimes...
Not an Akufo-Addo's government.
Right. But at the end of the day, if we want to go the way we're going, it also means that we intend putting in place the right sustainable means by which people need to undertake mining. Exactly. Because I think there are some one or two other companies, it's about the water you use, how you're able to collect the water, sediment it, and reuse it, and all that. And it takes a lot of investment and capital outflow and all, and the overheads are high. So
Roland,
how do we intend making sure that people do it sustainably?
Roland, anytime environment is mentioned, I clinch, because that is my second.
Yeah, because you're a quantity surveyor.
Apart
so
from that, my second master's is on environmental management.
Fantastic.
And therefore, anything. That's why I'm so passionate about environment. Look, Roland. I said this on one station, and I will say it here now, that Danish or Denmark, they don't have any resources. All they lived on is pig. They produce 25 million pigs a year per annum. And the Danes gives us money. They give us grants. So we laugh at them that if Danes, we have 5 million Danes, and they produce 25 million pigs in a year, and for export, and they have a lot of resources. Why can't we do that? We've been mining gold over it so many years now. And how much does gold contribute to our GDP? How much does cocoa contribute to our GDP? And we now looking for food for jobs, food for whatever. Why are we destroying our vegetation? There is something we call sustainability and then the carrying capacity of the earth. Very soon we'll destroy the earth and we cannot have a carrying capacity of the number of people, you produce.
Who need to depend on it.
So why don't we, just as he said, let's stop it. For me, I'm always doing extremely well. But he should go beyond that. This country must come to a point where we will say that let's have only 1 or 2 mining companies that will mine. Let us reclaim all our vegetation. Let's go into serious cocoa production. If that's where we want to go, let's go into serious cereal production. Let's go into something that will bring income. Then this one day thing, that will not work. Because Roland, all those Galamsey boys there, they are living on it. That is their livelihood. You are displaying them. What have you done to them? After 2-3 days, they'll get back there because there is no alternative livelihood. You have not given them any alternative livelihood or anything that they'll live on.
Do you think that's what we're doing with this action that, of course, has been started, the media and the government also has taken it upon itself?
Let me celebrate the media. In fact, you've done very well. All of you have started this from City FM, Joy FM. All of you have started this crusade, and that is where we find ourselves. And the ministry have to take it up. Why? Because some people have promised through their manifesto that when they come, they were going to make sure they legalize Galamsey, bring them together to give them small-scale work. That is why some people went out there too. But that is the policy aspect of it. Let's come to the real issue. The real issue is that, Roland, let's find alternative livelihood for those guys. Because as soon as they leave there, after 3-4 weeks, what do? They'll get back there. They'll find every possible means. And people are dying in that cave there. People are dying there because, look, when the cave collapses, they don't report it. These are illegal action, so they don't report it. People die there. We don't even know the number of people whose lives are lost there. And they are looking for something small called, gold. Something small metal called gold, which they sell. I don't know how much they sell. And then they pollute our water bodies. They pollute all they waste all our resources. Look at the palm tree there. All those palm trees could be used for production of palm oil and other things, and palm wine and so on and so forth.
But the gold is more income eking than anything.
That is why we should try and do we should look at the cost benefit analysis. If cocoa is where we want to go, and then we add value to cocoa in this country to make it more economical than destroying our own earth, destroying our own environment.
Quick correction. You see, I mentioned that small-scale mining was anything below 25 acres. Good. Those are the ones that the Ministry of Lands has tried to put a stop to their concession. All the big boys are still working. Those doing the deep shaft and those who treat their water.
No, we're not even talking about them. I mean, the Golden Star resources and all
we are talking about that.
No, so from...
I mean, they are not under discussion, right?
Yes. No, from what he said, that all of them are... No, we are not stopping all of them. The Anglo Gold Ashanti, the Bogoso, and all of them are
I even said it.
You said it, okay, fine. And they are treating their waters and everything before the effluent gets into the rivers. They are treating them before they get there. I'm aware of
they put in place the sustainable
exactly
measures, yeah.
But these guys are not licensed to go and do what they are doing, so they just do whatever anyhow, and they are the ones that have been starting.
How are we providing alternatives for them? Because
well,
in the interim, if you go displace people or perhaps sack them from their illegal means of business, how in the short term do you provide means for them to live?
That is what I always say, that the answer lies in the one district, one factory thing that NADO is bringing. And
how many people can, let's say a district factory or a district venture employ?
So, but how many people are you seeing working in this space? It's not the whole village. Yes, you have a number of people working there, but I can tell you that if this one district, one factory should start, I can tell you from the word go, even people who are selling dog chains on the streets will rush back to their villages and buy.
So now, when is
reason,
it going to start? Because you cannot be displaying people.
if you've been reading the news, you would see that we have mentioned that from June, at least some of the companies will even be inaugurated.
Okay.
Like, take my own district, for example, where I come from, which is the Kedi constituency. When we were growing up, we had a Kedi match factory. The building is still sitting there. I don't know whether the machinery will still work. But we just need some small amount of money to replace them. We'll do matches here. That area, what they use in doing the matches is wawa. And wawa trees are we have so many of them in the forest there. If we're able to put that thing back. Those times, the company was employing over 700 people. So just imagine in that village, that area, taking 700 off the streets into the factory. Immediately tells people that, look, why do I have to go and die in a pit somewhere when I can stay here and make some money at the end of the month? And we are going to do it.
In a pit, you make more money.
I don't think so. What you see them doing, they are not doing for themselves. They are the real contractors are there. And these are only workers who are getting 20
These are the
Ghana cedis.
on-hand laborers.
I think 20 Ghana cedis a day. All the women you see carrying the thing out of the thing, is about 20 Ghana cedis a day. The money, the real money, goes to some foreigners, some sitting somewhere who have contractors, senior contractor macho men, who collect the wash at the end of the day and take it to them. They get 20 Ghana cedis. So if you can promise them something good from the factory, it's better to work in a good environment, less risk, no problem, no hassle, no police chasing you, and no dying. So the answer lies in the one district, one factory. So I would rather want you to push us to get that thing in place as quickly as possible.
He's in charge because Minister of Trade, Carlos is in charge.
Yeah.
So
it's under the ministry?
Yes, under our ministry.
When is it supposed to start?
We said June.
Okay.
We said June.
Have you already started getting some business
you shouldn't
plans?
forget I'm a ranking member of government assurance. So
I know.
June. So
yes, June. Please talk to me again.
So have you started getting some proposals?
No, we have about 40. We have over 40 business plans that are already coming, and from the word I can tell you that by June,
spanning across which sectors?
Mainly agro processing. Yeah.
Agro processing. Yeah. All right. And let's move on to Yoko Odrin Ibrahim Mahama, a brother of former President John Mahama, because that's how we all know him. Of course, he has his company, Engineers and Planners. He's been ordered to pay 12.7 million within 2 weeks. It's also because, according to what the Daily Guy says, he issued over 40 DAD checks, actually 44, different dates, and valued at 10 million. And so the interest payment of them excess of 2.7 million, and they all failed. And it's a question. You are a business. You had been a business person. I'm sure you deal in payment of taxes, etc. At the end of the day, how did we get here?
If this is true, I ask myself, why would this gentleman get himself in this situation in the first place? It's not like you don't have the money. You do have the money. But if you think that your brother or your relation being the president of Ghana gives you that leverage to do whatever you want, at the time or at a certain point in time, posterity will catch up with you. What is happening to him, it is very devastating. I see him as a very astute business person. It's not easy to be a businessman. Honestly speaking, if at the end of the month you have to think of where to even get money to pay your staff, especially when a particular month wasn't that good. I don't know what happens here with Kwesi Chumdo, but if you come to some sectors where you have to probably cough about 100,000 Ghana cedis to pay salaries, you think. Now, for you to get yourself to just 12.5 is not like some money that you cannot find. Being that kind of businessman that I hear here, I think that is very sad. And of course, issuing of that checks, as far as our statutes are concerned, is also some kind of, I don't know whether it's misdemeanor or is whatever. But it is a charge which can actually take you to court. It's a criminal charge. So I don't know how the Yoko is going to handle it. But if I were him, I would just rush and clear this thing. Because from what I'm hearing from the outside, I don't think it's appropriate. I hear people saying that he is saying, I don't know whether it's true or not, and I stand to be corrected, that government owes him money So then the government should deduct this money from what they owe him and pay him Mr. President. It doesn't work like that. If government owes you money, you find a way to collect your money. I don't know how government got to owe you in any way, but you find a way to collect your money. This one, he shouldn't even wait at all. He just go ahead and clear it and let his name be free. Because I know there are a lot of things that are even going to come out. This is just a plain thing that came out that you cannot run away from.
There are more things.
Yes. Well, that's that. Of course, obviously, there will certainly be more things. If you just put your ear to the ground and you hear some of the things that have happened, there are more things that are going to happen. We heard all the stories about the former merchant bank and how much money he was owing there. I don't know how he made good that debt. We heard stories about the Odo River that he decided at the point to go and dredge for us free of charge, and later there was a bill of 200 million Ghana cedis. I don't know how that was resolved. We had so many stories, but I won't sit here to judge him. I used to be a businessman before entering into politics. I know how difficult it is to find yourself in such situations. So I will only pray that he has a wife, he has children, he has people who look up to him. He should just go and clear these things and let us look forward. I pity the situation. I'm so very sorry for him.
I'm surprised because I know Carlos when I listened to him when they were in opposition as a businessman, and as he speaks now, his language has completely changed.
Why? Why is that?
When you listen to Carlos when he was, then not even an MP, you notice that businessmen have certain time frame to pay some of their taxes and obligations.
You mean it can be restructured?
It can be restructured. And I don't see why Yoko should come in, because this is not an organized crime at all.
Well,
it's Economic and Organized Crime Office. So what business does Yoko got to do? This has to do with GRA.
That checks.
Yes.
That's
no, you see, that is where I have the problem. That checks that bounces. Somebody has given a check to you to go and collect. It is for you, GRA, to go and collect it. If you go 3-4 times and he doesn't, what do? Report. You take it up. So you, the civil servant or public servant, supposed to do your work. The man, not that he has evaded taxes.
There's a brother of the president. If his check bounced for 10 times, can you just
so that's a brother of the president.
He was the brother of the president at the
higher
time.
than the law.
Can you go to the port and take your goods without paying duty? It's not possible. Because of that position, that's why he got that.
I don't want
you
to
go there
that.
and give a check and say that, let's give me my goods.
Carlos, you have been in the shipping industry.
Exactly.
Is it possible?
It's not.
It's not possible.
That's what I'm saying.
So there was an arrangement between them and the officials.
So and politicians taking advantage of civil servants must stop. No, he's not a politician.
Is he a politician?
He's more than a politician. Because at this stage, let me correct something here. At this stage, you see that if you put the full blame on him, you'll be unfair to him. Who were those who allowed him to do? If today, me being in government, being a deputy minister, being an MPP member and a good one at that, I should go to the port and say, look, hey, you guys, you should know that I'm the deputy minister. I have my car here and I don't have money to pay, so you take this check. It's not me. How do you even go through the processes? Because with the GCNet system, if payment is not effected in the system, you cannot move to the next stage. So who are those who effected payment on his behalf, or who allowed payment to be inputted in the system for him to clear? We should look at all those things. Then we should let civil servants understand that when politicians decide to put pressure on you to do something untoward, be careful.
Okay.
Because otherwise, when that time
I want
comes,
to ask a question.
Yes, please.
I was not taking his time off. Knowing that you have been in the industry.
Yeah.
If you are not cleared from the first system, and then so you can move to the second system.
Yes.
Then what happened?
So it means that somebody
would that have been fraudulent in a way?
Well, it means that somebody actually authenticated his payment before it was moved to the next stage. So who did it? On what condition did they do it? And why did they do it? The why, of course, will be his political standing and his being the brother of the president. That one, he has so much clout. And you know, I mean, wasn't he called the Minister of Government Projects during your time? Which government project was he not in charge of?
Who called him that?
We had, even the NDC was calling him that.
Oh, this is my first time hearing.
Oh, I'm not sure it's the first time. For him and Opuni, there's so many stories that even the NDC people, if you hear people on radio coming to say that even if MPP don't arrest Opuni, they will go and arrest Opuni and bring him to us. It's because of how they carry themselves, you see. and it's because of how they made people, some people disgruntled, and other people happy. I think that Yoko shouldn't just look at those people, the person who perpetrated the crime alone, but those people in line who got all these
But
things.
we're not saying this is a crime, right?
It is a crime.
Okay.
That
You give a check and the check bounces, not even 10 times.
According
once,
to the
it's a
regulations
crime.
of the Bank of
Yes,
Ghana.
it is a crime.
All right.
And you are talking about GRA.
But we all give that
No,
check.
it's not post-dated check. It's a proper check. You see, and I even hear, if the story is correct, I even hear that after the government has changed, they drew his attention, he wrote those checks, and those checks didn't go through. How can you do that? You see?
So
and GRA is a government arm, it's an arm of government.
Yeah.
So therefore, if they call it Yoko, they are in line.
Okay. Now, as a businessman, you know that you can restructure.
I'm not a businessman now.
No, yeah. You can restructure your debt.
Yes, you can.
You
but
can
that
restructure your payments.
you don't do it yourself. It depends on the person collecting that debt to accept.
Okay.
Yoko, as you can see, has given him 2 weeks. And that's the structure they have given to him. How many people will I get 2 weeks? If they'll give me 2 weeks to take my goods out of the port and sell, if they can give the trader in Okanshi 2 weeks to go and take his goods in the port and pay later, I tell you, a lot of traders would make a lot of profit. Because some of them are going to the banks to borrow at 30%, 32%. They are going to microfinance companies to borrow at 35% to go and clear their goods. And when they finish, they are going to go and pay the interest. He is lucky. He's been given 2 weeks to pay only 12.5 million. He's very, very lucky. I think he should, you see, he should not let us discuss this matter. Just, Ibrahim, just go and pay this money and let peace prevail.
Do you see, from the NDC, do you see
well,
this as a political...
Yeah, you could see clearly saying from my friend, saying that he's the president, the brother of the former president, clearly shows that they have a political twist to it, that he can go to the airport, go to the port and show his clout and be able to move his goods
Well, it's
out.
possible, is it not?
Well, for me, I don't know, because I believe that things should work, naturally. If you are supposed to clear your goods, paying for it or giving whatever terms that you need to agree on, and it's done, it should be done naturally. It shouldn't because you have any political clout or your brother is the president or your father is the president or you are the president or you are a minister, therefore you should go and clear the goods. I think that whatever it is, the truth will come out. Yoko has asked him to pay within 2 weeks. Let's see.
Tell him to pay. Tell him to pay.
Okay. At the end of the day, he's not being witch hunt, or is it?
No, it is because
God doesn't do with witch hunting.
I didn't want to go there. If you had our friend, Honorable Kenya Japan, coming on radio to say that Ibrahim should be jailed, I mean, he will, all kinds of things about him. We show clearly that.
Please leave Kennedy out. Kennedy says so many things.
Yeah.
And he says them as he wants to say them. But I don't think Yoko or the president of Ghana or the BNI boss depends on what Kennedy
So
says.
is it the only person? Is it Ibrahim the only person who has done this?
Well, unfortunately, probably it's one that has come out now.
Okay.
Others are also going to come out later. Who knows? There are so many things that we have heard. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. And for this one, I'm saying it has come out so quick. But for your information, we are investigating all contracts, especially those that were done in the last year. If you heard Nana Akufo-Addo, our senior minister mentioned at the IEA forum that the Attorney General is mandated to go through all contracts and see their veracity and how truthful they are. So therefore, that tells you that it's not something that is going to be based on only 1 or 2 people. But this one is coming out almost immediately because it's very visible. It's clear. If you go to the GCNet system, just by the click of a knob,
you see that
everything.
there are some anomalies.
Exactly. And the paperwork is there. The paper trail is there. So therefore, my friend, this is what we have seen. The checks you brought through didn't go through. 2 weeks, go and pay. It shouldn't be a witch hunt. There's no political witch
There's
hunt.
a company called First Bank Financial Services. Its managing director has asked for circumspection on the discussion around a bond issuance by the Finance Ministry of some 2.25 billion Ghana cedis. He said that what was in there was to ensure that public commentary on the 15 to 10-year bonds did not return to hurt the economy and the country's reputation. He felt that the criticisms were out of place because we know a company and then also ultimately an individual that was linked to the bond issuance and the company in itself has generated a lot of debate over the last 5 days, I believe. Yes. What's your comment on this?
Well,
because we're told that it's because of the relationship, if there is in any way, of the finance minister with the gentleman who was involved with the company Franklin Templeton and Trevgan.
You see, that is where I find it very intriguing when NDC goes that tangent. And
because they organized a whole press conference on
and it is very sad.
Did you monitor the press conference?
No, I wasn't here. I've been in Abidjan for the past 4 days in a meeting. Okay. And when I came back, I just started hearing all these stories. I asked myself, why would they even go that tangent? Don't move from an incompetent government to an ignorant opposition. But when you do that, you worry, you make the country suffer. The reason being that whatever you are seeing there being done is some laid down principle that you have put there already. It is nothing new. This gentleman you are talking about, or Franklin Templeton?
No, Trevgan is the gentleman. He's a director for the company Franklin Templeton.
Yeah, but that's not what I would have said.
And they acquired 95% of.
But that's not what Haruna said. Okay. If you listen to what Haruna said, which I had occasion to listen to properly well, he tend to differentiate Trevor from Templeton and made Templeton as if he was a human being. Templeton is not a human being, like you rightly said. Templeton is a company. And for your information, this Franklin Templeton company has been involved in our bonds since 2006. As I speak to you now, they have about $2 billion worth of Ghana bonds since 2006 to date. And they have participated in a lot of the bonds that you have issued. It is nothing new. They are not like a new person, a new company.
Under the NDC administration, in 2013, they bought some chunk of
they have, since 2006, they have been involved with bonds in Ghana. And they have been helping out. And you see, what NDC is doing is trying to shadow or overshadow the good thing that this bond is going to come out with. Number one, we did not peg this bond on a dollar aggregate. We asked the bond to be a local purchase. So therefore, you saw people bringing forex from abroad to come and change cedis here to buy the bond. This is the reason why you see our dollar coming down at a point. And because it is something that has gone to shine this government, they want to find every possible means to thwart.
You're saying they're not being responsible as an opposition?
They are being ignorant. Because you brought this thing up. And it is the measures that they put there, or the measures that we use to come up with this bond, the criteria, is something that Parliament has approved of already since Tekpe's time. And we have an issuing date. We have,
a closing date.
To make it even more explicit, to explain it properly, these bonds are raised at points where our deficits will have to be covered. So therefore, it gets to a point in the life of an economy. The finance ministry, which is supposed to manage the debt position of every economy, comes out to say that, look, at this juncture, we have incurred so much deficit, we need to find a way to cover it. So we are going to issue bonds of so much to cover that deficit. The Ministry of Trade then came up with criteria to, as it were, go, with this particular kind of situation. And this has been accepted by Parliament. Unfortunately, even though NDC has used this criteria all this while, unfortunately, when it got to our turn to, as it were, close our budget and cover the deficit, we went in for a proper deal whereby we extended the time. They were going for bonds of 5 years and so on. We have gone for 10 to 15 years.
A long-term
bond. A long-term bond. It has given us enough space to be able to operate. Number two, we got a lower interest rate. Better than what they do get.
You mean for a domestic bond?
Yes, exactly. And number three, we are not going to be faced with any dollar fluctuations. Because the fact is, those people who bought the bond, which is a CD equivalent of $2.2 billion, is what we are going to pay at the end. And they have forgotten that this bond is being raised to pay for some deficit that they have caused. And then you come and stand on TV and you show your ignorance.
To pay for some interest as well.
Exactly. You see, because you left us no fiscal space when we came. Only 3 items on the budget are taking all the revenues that we are getting in Ghana. We have to do the others. You see, and you left a very huge deficit. when it comes to the budget for 2016, how do we pay for it? So they are only trying to mischieve us. I would beg them. We are, you see, politics, yes, but Ghana belongs to all of us. Let us find a very nice way.
So you think they have nothing to
They have no business. They have no business, no moral authority.
It's just politicking, you say?
It's just politicking.
Mr. Bajira,
It is not politicking at all.
You think there's any conflict of interest situation?
Apart from conflict of interest,
A potential conflict of interest situation?
it is not potential. There is conflict of interest.
Is.
So let me.
It's not potential.
Maybe my brother Carlos, I have the press release, the press conference. I have it there. I'll give it to him to read through all that we stated. First of all, let's start from their premise. MPP came to power and said they were not going to borrow at all.
No, they've not said that, have they?
Have you read their manifesto? I wish I should open it for you.
Well, where? Which page?
You said you were not going to borrow. You went around the whole country.
Even America borrows.
Okay, so you've agreed
Even
that
America borrows.
Two.
We cannot, but we'll borrow responsibly.
Okay.
Go ahead.
They moved from what we call, how did you say, that incompetent government to substandard government.
To which one?
No,
to ignorant opposition.
No, yours is not substandard government. Substandard in the sense that we have what we call the borrowing act. The borrowing act gives you the procedure how to borrow, the time frame, asking whether they've gone through that. 24 hours, you send notice to Bank of Ghana.
But if you have oversubscription, you can close the. Can't you close it?
Oversubscription by one person.
It's not one person, entity, company.
One person.
Franklin Templeton is not a human being.
No, we are not saying Frank. We said the CEO of Franklin Templeton.
Did he do it on his own behalf or did he on behalf of the company? And during your time when he was buying, did he buy for himself?
He's also the same person. Is also a board member of Enterprise Group. The same person, and
It's a non-executive board member.
Whether executive or non-executive, for us, we think that it's a shady deal. It's been cooked from Minister of Finance for him because he belongs to a group.
How does that affect Ghana?
How does that affect
Yes,
Ghana?
compared it to yours, what you were
Jesus
thinking.
Christ, how does that affect
Yes.
Ghana?
Yeah, compared it to yours. I want you to, how does that affect in terms of what you people did and what we have done? Give me the interest rate. Give me the dollar CD challenge. And also.
But Carlos, the subject of contention here is about whether there's a potential conflict of interest.
Well, that's what he's not supposed to substantiate.
Please wrap up for me.
So
We have to wrap up our discussions as well.
well, there is a conflict of interest. One, because of the gentleman involved, who is the CEO. There is also the Borrowing Act, which you do not follow. You need to follow the Borrowing Act carefully. And therefore, we have a lot of issues that we'll bring it up in a couple of days. We have not finished at all. This, we just took the fire. There are a lot of issues.
You have a lot more?
A lot more. Roland, by the time we finish with...
The finance minister will be done.
But now he should have been resigning. For me, if I were to be him, I would have been resigning.
Because of the fact you have at hand?
Yes.
Roland, if they are bringing a lot more, then I wouldn't like to even comment now. I would when they bring that other one. But before we close, let me wish Papa Kwesi Ndium well on what happened over the weekend. I think that it's a very big loss if you look at the fact that this gentleman has actually helped his country in many capacities, and something like this should be before him. But I am, of course, very happy to also understand that the vault in which the monies of the GN Bank were kept was not affected by fire. And that also put him on a very good pedestal. I would say that whatever investigation that comes from the fire department, they should take it very cautiously and deal with it.
Okay,
then,
so
let me thank Tema West people for watching me and for putting me where I am.
Well, I'm here, so I'm watching you. I see after
So let me also add my voice to our brother.
Right. So Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndium wrote this on his Facebook page. It says, tons of gratitude with a heavy heart. As far as my faith will take me, I give thanks to God. This has been one of the most difficult months for me as an entrepreneur ever, and for my family. Still, we stand ready to keep moving on positively. We owe our ability to do this to many, many well-wishers from far and near who encourage us and support our enterprises. And he continues, quoting from 2 Timothy 1:7, for the spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and discipline. I also quoted from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. I love this. And he says, I'm grateful for the prayers, good wishes, and encouragement. God bless all of us. And adds, it is well. And thanks, Carlos, also for that, remember. And thanks also, Emmanuel Bejra. And I've had in the studio Carlos Ahenkorah. He's a member of parliament for Tema West.
Yeah.
That's my constituency, because but he's also a deputy minister for trade. And thanks for joining me, Carlos.
Thank you.
Okay, first time on the show. I hope that when we invite you next time, you'll find some time,
I'll
if you
be
have
here.
the time.
I'll be here.
Okay. Emmanuel Bejra is a member of parliament for Whole West. You just have to go to Whole West and see all of his billboards.
Why did you bring West people today? Tema West and Who West?
We love the West.